This is the wild story of the brown tree snake. It's about how a completely ordinary animal became an absolute ecological nightmare. But this isn't really a story about a monster. It's about how we accidentally made one just by putting it in the wrong place at the wrong time. And this quote right here, it just nails it. It gets right to the heart of the problem. This is about Guam, the island at the center of our story. You have to imagine a literal paradise, but with this one huge blind spot. Its wildlife had never, ever seen a predator like a snake. They had zero defenses. All right, so let's meet the star of the show. Before it became public enemy number one, the brown tree snake was, well, just a snake. Kind of boring, actually. Back in its native home, places like Indonesia and Australia, it was just another part of the scenery, doing its thing. And this is where things get crazy. Look at the difference here. On its home turf, it's just background noise. It's got predators, it has to compete for food, the normal system of checks and balances. But on Guam, whoa, all of that was gone. It was like taking the governor off a race car. No brakes, just full throttle. So the big question is, how in the world did this regular old sneak get to Guam in the first place? It wasn't some evil plan. It was just a fluke, a complete accident. It was a 1 in a million shot that created this perfect storm for an invasion. Okay, so here's how it all went down. You have to remember, right after World War II, Guam became this massive hub for the US military. It was a beehive of activity. So you've got all these ships and planes coming and going. It's basically a highway for a stowaway snake. But the real kicker, the absolute game changer, was where it landed. Guam was, well, it was completely defenseless, a sitting duck. So you drop this snake into paradise with no enemies and an all-you-can-eat buffet of birds that don't even know what a snake is. What happens next? The population doesn't just grow, it explodes. The impact was so catastrophic that people said you could literally hear the island getting quieter. The birds were just gone. Get ready for this number, because it's insane. At its peak, there were over 10,000 snakes per square kilometer. Let that sink in for a second. It became one of the most snake-dense places on the entire planet, an island practically crawling with them. And this is the domino effect. It's a textbook example of how an ecosystem can just unravel. First, the snake population booms. Next, boom, the birds are gone. We're talking 10 out of 12 native forest bird species just erased. But it doesn't stop there, right? Because with no birds, who's pollinating the flowers? Who's spreading the seeds? The entire forest starts to fall apart. The snake wasn't just a predator, it was an architect, redesigning the whole island. Okay, as if things weren't bad enough, this is where the story gets really bizarre. The snake wasn't just a problem for the forest, it became a problem for the power grid? Yeah, you heard me right. So what's a snake to do on a cool night? Well, they love to climb, and they love warmth. And you know what's warm and climbable? Power lines. They'd slither up there, touch the wrong two wires, and zap! Blackout. And we're not talking about a couple of times a year. We're talking over 300 outages on average. It was a constant, debilitating headache. And those headaches cost money. A lot of money. Tens of millions of dollars. Every single year. Think about what that means. The power goes out at the hospital, at the airport, at critical military bases. This one little animal was causing massive economic and security problems. And this is what you really need to grasp, the part that's so unique. This wasn't a force of nature like a hurricane. This was an animal. A single snake could crawl up a pole and shut down a huge chunk of the island's infrastructure. That's what makes this story so unbelievable. So what do? You've got a silent forest and a flickering power grid. You have to fight back, right? Well, they tried. And for decades, it was a losing battle. Just one failed attempt after another. It was a war they just couldn't seem to win. I mean, just look at the history of this fight. In the 80s, they tried the obvious stuff. Traps, fences. Yeah, that didn't work. Too many snakes. In the 90s, someone had the bright idea to bring in another animal to eat the snakes. And luckily, everyone else said, no way, that's how you get an even bigger problem. The real game changer came in the 2000s, and it's wild. It turns out that acetaminophen, the stuff in Tylenol, is super deadly to these snakes. So what did they do? They started dropping medicated mice out of helicopters, literally raining down tiny poison pills from the sky. You can't make this stuff up. But even with all that, here's the tough truth. They've basically given up on ever getting rid of the snake completely. It's impossible. The war is over and the snakes won. The new goal is just containment.
keep the numbers manageable, and for the love of God, don't let them get on a plane to somewhere like Hawaii.
So, when you step back and look at the whole picture, what's the big takeaway? It's this. The snake itself isn't the villain of the story. It was never a monster. We created the monster. We're the ones who picked it up from where it belonged and dropped it into a place that was completely unprepared for it. This chart right here, it sums up the whole story perfectly. Take the exact same animal. In Indonesia, where it's from, it's nothing, just part of the scenery. But in Hawaii, where it could end up, it's a code red, top-level biohazard, the nightmare scenario. And on Guam, it's a disaster that they have to live with forever. See, the snake is the same. It's the place that's different. It's all about context.
So let's boil this all down. What do we learn from this mess? 1, it's the accidents you really have to watch out for. 2, island ecosystems are incredibly fragile. They can shatter with just one wrong piece. 3, and this is a big one, a biological problem can become a massive infrastructure problem just like that. And the last lesson, the most important one of all, prevention is so much cheaper than trying to find a cure.
And that brings us to the final chilling thought here. This whole story shows that in our modern interconnected world, we don't just ship boxes around. We ship consequences. A human supply chain, a totally man-made thing, accidentally moved one snake, and that one snake unraveled millions of years of evolution. So when you look at it that way, this wasn't really a natural disaster at all. It was a civilizational one that just happened to have the face of a snake.